Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. Growing up, my relationship with my dad was complicated. He was a loving father, but a workaholic, always chasing the next big promotion. When my mom passed away from cancer when I was 14, everything changed. My dad threw himself even deeper into work, probably as a way to cope. That left me to fend for myself emotionally. I didn't resent him for it. He was doing the best he could, but the distance between us grew. 2 years later, my dad introduced me to Angela, the woman who would eventually become my stepmother. From the start, I didn't like her. Angela was the polar opposite of my mom, flashy, self-absorbed, and, quite frankly, greedy. She always seemed more interested in the lifestyle my dad could provide than in actually building a loving family with us. At 16, I could already see through her charm. My dad, however, was smitten. At 45, he was desperate not to grow old alone. And Angela, 15 years his junior, knew exactly how to play the part of the doting girlfriend. Angela and I clashed from the beginning. She didn't try to hide her disdain for me either. She'd make passive-aggressive comments about how I was spoiled because my dad still paid for my education and supported me. She acted like I was some freeloading brat, conveniently ignoring that I was still a teenager, trying to find my footing after losing my mom. When I brought this up to my dad, he defended her, saying Angela was just adjusting to her new role in our family, and I should be more kind and supportive of her. But to me, it felt like she wasn't trying at all. By the time I turned 18, Angela and my dad were married. She moved into our house, redecorating everything, and making it abundantly clear that she was now the lady of the house. I was counting down the days until I could leave for college, and when I did, I limited my visits home. Angela and I kept our distance, which suited us both just fine. Fast forward to last year. My dad, who had been relatively healthy, suffered a fatal heart attack. I was devastated. Despite our differences, he was still my dad, and I loved him deeply. Angela played the grieving widow at the funeral, but even in her crocodile tears, I could see the wheels turning. She was calculating what his death meant for her financially. When the will was read, I was shocked. My dad left almost everything to Angela. The house, his investments, and his savings. The only thing he left me was his prized 1968 Ford Mustang. To most people, it might seem unfair, but I understood why he did it. The car wasn't just a vehicle, it was a symbol of our bond. We spent countless weekends in the garage working on it together. It was where we had most of our meaningful conversations. He'd often say, "One day, this will be yours. Take good care of it." To me, that car was worth more than all the money in the world. Angela, however, didn't see it that way. She wanted the Mustang too. She argued that since it was part of the estate, it should belong to her. I stood my ground, pointing out that my dad explicitly left it to me in his will. But Angela was never one to back down when she wanted something. That's when she dropped the bombshell. She will sue me for the car. I couldn't believe it. The woman who had just inherited almost everything was now coming after the one thing my dad left me. The lawsuit was absurd, but Angela's greed knew no bounds. She claimed that my dad didn't know what he was doing when he made his will, and that the car should have been included in her inheritance. Her argument was flimsy, but she had the money to hire a team of high-powered lawyers. The court process was grueling. Angela's legal team tried to paint me as an ungrateful, estranged child who had manipulated my dad into leaving me the car. It was disgusting. I had to dig up every piece of evidence to prove my relationship with my dad and show that the car was meant for me. I found old photos of us working on the Mustang together, emails where he talked about leaving it to me, and even a letter he wrote me on my 21st birthday telling me how proud he was of me. Angela, on the other hand, started to unravel. Her greed got the better of her, and she overplayed her hand. She submitted false claims, exaggerating her financial needs, and even tried to forge a document suggesting my dad intended to leave the car to her. But her lies didn't hold up under scrutiny. The judge saw right through her. The judge ruled in my favor. Not only did I get to keep the Mustang, but Angela was ordered to pay my legal fees. The victory was sweet, but all the ordeal was heartbreaking. My dad's friends, who had initially supported her, turned against her when they found out she dragged me through court for this single car my dad had left me, while she received everything else. They saw her for what she really was, a gold digger who had exploited my dad's love and trust. Her social circle abandoned her, and her reputation was in shambles. Everyone was disgusted with her behavior. That's when Angela did something I never expected. She tried to make amends with me. She showed up at my door unannounced one day, apologizing profusely, and claiming she had seen the error of her ways. It was clear she wasn't sorry for what she'd done. She was just desperate to save face. Her friends had turned their backs on her, and she thought repairing things with me might help her reputation. I looked her straight in the eye and told her to go to hell. I wasn't interested in her fake apologies or her attempts to salvage what was left of her social standing. She had shown me exactly who she was, and I had no intention of letting her back into my life. Now, some people say I'm being too harsh. They argue that I should forgive her for my own peace of mind. But honestly, I feel nothing but relief knowing she's out of my life for good. So, Reddit. Am I the a-hole for refusing to forgive her? Angela had already inherited the bulk of OP's dad's estate. The fact that she still went after the Mustang, the one sentimental item he left to OP, just shows how greedy she is. Then, to make matters worse, she dragged OP through a grueling court battle and tried to smear OP's name. And now she wants to apologize? She's not sorry for what she did. She's sorry for how it turned out for her. OP is under no obligation to forgive someone who only cares about saving face. OP should not let anyone guilt her into feeling bad about this. OP did nothing wrong, and she reaped what she sowed. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Not the a-hole. Your stepmother showed her true colors when she tried to take you to court over the Mustang. That wasn't about money. It was about control and making sure you had nothing left of your dad's legacy. And now that her lies and greed have come back to bite her, she's trying to manipulate you into forgiving her so she can salvage what's left of her reputation. Honestly, her apology is meaningless because it's not coming from a place of genuine regret. You have every right to protect yourself from someone who has already caused you so much harm. Forgiveness isn't a free pass, and she doesn't deserve one. Not the a-hole. Angela wasn't just greedy, she was vindictive. She already got nearly everything your dad left behind, and she still wanted to strip you of the one sentimental item that meant something to you. Her attempt to sue you wasn't just disrespectful to you. It was disrespectful to your dad's memory and his wishes. And now she's trying to crawl back into your good graces? No way. People like her don't apologize out of guilt. They do it to fix their image. You did the right thing by standing your ground. Forgiveness is something you give to people who truly earn it, and Angela hasn't. Not the a-hole all the way. Angela thought she could bulldoze over you because she had money and resources, but she learned the hard way that actions have consequences. She got almost everything from your dad, but she just couldn't let you have the one thing that held sentimental value. The fact that she tried to rewrite the narrative in court shows how little respect she has for you or your dad's wishes. And now that she's alone and out of options, she's coming to you for forgiveness? She's not sorry. She's just desperate. Good on you for telling her to go to hell. Sometimes, people need to face the full weight of their actions, and Angela is no exception. My dad, 52 male, hadn't had a very close relationship with me, 23 female, or my brother, 27 male, since he met his girlfriend, 50 female, around 12 years ago. After him and my mother got divorced, when I was 7, he was still a big part of our lives until he met her. We see them around 2 times a year, as they seem too busy to see us most of the time. We both try to make time for them, because otherwise there would be no relationship anymore, even though they're only like half an hour away from us. On the 8th of September, he texted me to let me know that him and his girlfriend are getting married at a registry office in October this year, and it's just a small thing, so we're not invited. To my knowledge, there are 3 people invited as witnesses, an acquaintance of theirs, and his mother and mother's partner. I respond the same day to say that I'm happy for them, that it's a shame that we won't be there to see them get married, but if that's what they wish, then I respect that. On the 16th of September, his girlfriend WhatsApp messaged a group chat that we normally use for arranging times to see each other. Myself, brother, our partners, and my dad and his partner are the ones in this group. She sent pictures of their rings and of themselves on the day that they went to confirm their intent to get married. I didn't want to respond while I was still emotional about not being invited and not really being a part of my dad's life anymore, so I waited a little. A couple of hours later, on the same day, she left the chat, and then the next day, my dad did too. I was hurt that I didn't get a chance to respond, and then text my dad today on the 20th to say thank you to his girlfriend for sending the pictures, and that I hope it wasn't our lack of immediate response that made them leave the group. Then I asked if I could ring him to talk it through. He said yes, but as soon as I got on the phone with him, I could tell that he was worked up and clearly upset at me because I wasn't more excited about their wedding. I've had personal things going on in my life with my mother, who I speak to every day and am very close to, as she has had surgery and I've been looking after her. I let him know that I was a bit MIA because of this, and that I was sorry I didn't get back to him sooner. He was still very annoyed, and told me I need to message his now fiancé and apologize for not being more excited and thankful for the pictures. I'm still finding it very difficult to not be involved, as it symbolizes to me that I'm not a big part of his life. He didn't even call me to let me know he's getting married. I felt like we've been drifting apart more over the years, and I feel abandoned by him. I've even thought about cutting ties, as he doesn't ever seem bothered to want to see me anyway. Am I an a-hole for not being more excited for them? Didn't even let you know in person or by phone call that he was getting married, and to not even be invited to help celebrate, but you're supposed to be more excited and happy for them? Seriously? Then on top of that, you need to apologize to her? If it was me, I would be telling her to get off her high horse if she thinks she deserves an apology. Cause most likely that would be her talking in his ear telling him to tell you that you need to apologize to her. Hope that made sense. And that's just my thinking from her removing herself first from that chat group. You're no a-hole. Their behavior is ridiculous. Some people shouldn't be parents, and it seems like your dad is one of them. What parent wouldn't invite their own kids to their wedding? In fact, it doesn't seem like he has made much of an effort to include you or your brother in his life. So why should you be excited for the wedding? You have nothing to apologize for. You have done nothing wrong. I think the lesson here is that you reap what you sow. Your father made his own reality and is now living with it. I have one son, 30 male, and 2 grandchildren, 4 male and 5 male. I take care of them 2 to 3 times a week for 3 or 4 hours a day. I don't mind taking care of them, but it's exhausting. At the beginning of November, my son invited me to go with him, his wife, children, and in-laws to travel from the 15th to the 22nd of December. I asked how much this trip was, and it wasn't cheap, so I said I didn't want to, because it wasn't something I wanted to spend at that moment. He offered to pay as a gift, and I decided to accept on the condition that I would not babysit my grandchildren at any time, and this would be my vacation. He agreed. In a few spaced conversations, I asked why they didn't leave the children with my ex-husband during this period, as it is a very adult and romantic city. They said they wanted a family trip. By the way, my ex-husband loves his grandkids, and they spent almost 3 weeks at his house once. He didn't go on the trip for other reasons. On the trip, I wasn't very proactive in taking care of my grandchildren. Honestly, apart from a few well-spaced moments, my son, his wife, his in-laws took care of the kids. I obviously spent time with them. This trip, we basically spent the morning and afternoon together. At night, we were free to do whatever we wanted. I took the opportunity to visit some restaurants and hopping, alone. My son and his wife took turns with his in-laws at night with my grandchildren, because most places weren't family-friendly. The 6th day, I decided to stay at the hotel, drink some wine, and read a book. My son found out I was staying at the hotel and asked if I could look after them. I declined, saying I had other plans in my room. He started to complain that everyone was helping and taking turns, except me, who didn't help with the whole trip. This really pissed me off. I reminded him that it was his choice to bring 2 children in a completely non-family friendly city, and that I said before even accepting his gift that I would not take care of the children, because I just want to relax. We ended up arguing, and he said, among other things, that I could be a little more grateful for his gift and make this concession for 3 hours for them and the in-laws to have a free night, but that I'm deciding to be an a-hole. I stuck to it, and in doubt he wouldn't respect this. I ducked into the pool area the whole night. He tried to show up in my room with the kids and just drop them. Things have been tense ever since, as he said I was an a-hole the whole trip. Am I the a-hole? I'm going to go with not the a-hole. You provide a service for your son regularly by helping out with the grandkids. He agreed this would be your vacation, and they chose to bring their kids when clearly the city is not family-friendly. He violated your previous agreement, and you held your boundary. You made expectations very clear when accepting your son's offer. Instead of respecting the agreement you made, he decided that you owed him for a trip he insisted on bringing you on with him. He had options to leave the kids with their grandfather, your ex, but no, he wanted a family trip. Well, he got what he wanted. Next time he will leave the kids at home. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. He said he accepted that you wouldn't babysit. Then he gets mad when you don't? I can see who the a-hole here is. It's not you. He's got nerve too, seeing how you regularly watch your grandchildren. This trip should have been a massive thank you for all that you do for him and his family. My eldest daughter, Alice, passed 3 years ago. She left almost everything to my youngest, Sarah, including her apartment and money for law school, which Sarah wanted to attend. We were all surprised by this, but it's Alice's will, so we respected her wishes. We had a college fund for Sarah, but there's still about half left. I talked to her before, and the plan was to put the rest of the money towards law school. This was discussed before Alice left Sarah money, and we didn't bring it up again until recently. Sarah is starting law school later this year. I'm very close to my siblings, especially my brother. My niece is going to a prestigious college, which we're all very proud of, but it's also quite expensive. I thought about it and talked it over with my brother and decided that the rest of the funds should be given to my niece to help her out. She didn't take this well and started saying the money should be for her. I tried to explain to her that she didn't need it for school, doesn't need it for a home, and her cousin could benefit from it more. Sarah said we should be keeping it in case she needs it in the future or for a wedding, and that I'm giving everything to my nieces and nephews. She's now refusing to pick up calls. Would I really be the a-hole for giving the funds to my niece, not keeping it for Sarah? You're the a-hole. I'm not really greedy, but I would be bothered if money specifically meant for me was diverted to a cousin, regardless of how much I or you loved them. If it's that important to you, why not take it out of your savings, or take out a loan if need be? Right now, you're sending the message that your brother, niece, are more important than your own daughter. As far as I'm concerned, you're stealing from your own child. You're the a-hole because you discussed this with your brother before thinking to discuss it with your daughter. You could have had an adult conversation with your adult daughter about finances and expectations, and she may have been willing and happy to have the money go to her cousin. Instead, you decided to blindside her and force her into the position of being the bad guy and selfish and potentially causing rifts within the extended family. Also, the way you talk about eldest daughter's will is weird. Why were you surprised she left it to her sister? It was in her will, so you didn't respect her wishes. You obeyed the law. Do you think you should have received her assets? You're the a-hole. Just because Sarah got some money from her sister doesn't mean that you should be giving away the college fund you have for her to someone else. Sarah should still get the money that you told her was for her schooling, and then be able to use what's left for living expenses while in school. My dear husband's family is such an anomaly to me. I love his mom and bro to death, but there is one issue that grinds my gears. In high school, college, my dear husband's longtime girlfriend was a manipulator and treated him like crap. In the end, she cheated on him with his best friend. As a result, dear husband refused to speak to his friends for years and only forgave him once his friend was in a life-threatening car accident. Knowing he might only have one chance to speak, he wanted to move past bitterness. Dear husband forgave his friend, and they became friends again. Not close, but friendly enough that when time came, dear husband asked him to be a groomsman in our wedding. Years pass, and dear husband's evil ex ends up marrying another dude from the same group of friends. After she was married, shortly before dear husband met me, she started to text dear husband, basically stating she was unhappy in her marriage and had no one to talk to but dear husband. Basically, she wanted to get back with dear husband. Dear husband shut that down immediately and told her not to contact him. Here's the catch that annoys me. Dear husband's brother, who is very, very close to dear husband, both in age and friendship, is very good friends with evil ex's husband, and as a result, hangs with the couple often. About a month after dear husband and I met, we went to a birthday party for one of his friends. The evil ex was there. I was introduced and said hello politely with a smile. She looked me up and down, no greeting returned, and then spent the evening trying to hang out with dear husband, while he ignored her even when she stood right next to him. Fast forward a couple months, and dear husband's bro meets his girlfriend, now wife, and introduces her to evil ex. They spend a ton of time together. Bro's wife prefers their partying ways to dear husband and my quieter lifestyle. Fine, whatever. Fast forward a year. Dear husband and I are engaged, and he has to travel for work. While he's gone, his former best friend from high school, the one evil ex cheated with, suddenly dies. It was a shock, and poor dear husband was consumed with grief. In the midst of this, I cannot go to him and have to comfort him via long distance. Come to find out, in the midst of this, Evil X has contacted him via Facebook to say how sorry she is and that she'll always love dear husband unconditionally. What the duck? He didn't respond to her and blocked her on all social media. Dear husband told Bro about how inappropriate Evil X has been, and Bro admits it's messed up, but still remains in constant touch with her. His now wife, our sister-in-law, is besties with her, and they hang out often and talk daily. And I know for a fact that sister-in-law has passed on info about our life to this Evil X. Sister-in-law is aware that she was my dear husband's ex, and that she cheated on him. Beyond that, I don't know how much Bro has told her. We still have to be constantly invited to functions where this Evil X is going to be. She was bridesmaid at their wedding, and if she's not there, we constantly hear about her life. I'm sick of it. This girl is a bee. She's manipulative, has no regard for her marriage, and Bro and dear husband refuse to tell her husband. And sister-in-law is always talking about her. For the longest time, I felt like I couldn't ask her to please stop telling us about Evil X because she was so involved in their wedding plans. Now, however, it's grinding my gears that Bro still acts surprised when we turn down invites to hang out if Evil X is going to be there. We always suck it up when it's important life stuff, engagement party, wedding, birthdays, etc. But if it's going to be just us and them attending a campfire with booze, hell no. Am I just being crazy for thinking it's super inconsiderate of dear husband's Bro to think it's okay to ask us over when he knows Evil X has treated not only dear husband, but also her own husband so badly? And what is it with guys not wanting to tell their so-called friend that his wife is being super inappropriate behind his back? If my husband was caught texting his ex like that, I would want to know, not to someday find out that everyone knew but me. Do I just continue to grin and bear it when sister-in-law raves about this girl? Or should I stop biting my tongue and actually say, I know you're friends with Evil X, but she's not a great person, and we really don't want to hear about her life. So please don't tell us about your plans with her. And please don't invite us to hang out with her. Is it too late for me to say this? Or am I, again, just being uptight and crazy? To be honest, sounds like you and dear husband need new friends. Can't do much about the sister-in-law. Have you thought about moving away? Sometimes it really is the only way to get away from such a toxic situation. It sounds awful and really hard to cope with. You both deserve better, and your brother-in-law is pretty pathetic allowing this sort of stuff to happen and to consider himself close to your husband. Your poor husband. For starters, stop talking to your sister-in-law. Stop hanging out with the brother. Try to separate yourself as much as possible. Unfortunately, you will have to skip events. Don't involve yourself in any part of the ex's life. It is not your job to tell her husband about her behavior. That's between them. All you can do is remove yourself from the situation. My husband of 25 years left our family a few months ago for his coworker, mistress. I was blindsided to learn of the affair and have tried to handle the breakup with as much grace as possible. But I'm also very hurt, and so are our 3 children. I should also mention that I was diagnosed with cancer a few months before I discovered the affair. He now lives in another town with the mistress. I remain close with his family who live nearby me and were disgusted by his behavior. The mistress just gave my mother-in-law a birthday gift, which was delivered by my husband. My mother-in-law happily accepted and displayed the gift in her home. She has never met the mistress as far as I know. I was upset to learn that she accepted the gift, and she has refused to return it, or at least not display it, after I expressed to her that it hurt my feelings. I know I may be overreacting, but I feel by accepting the gift, she's in a sense accepting their relationship. My mother-in-law told me that she's keeping it because she doesn't want to upset her son, who, by the way, is rarely around. Am I the a-hole? She is his mother. It's highly likely she's going to accept their relationship eventually. If they stay together, she won't be his mistress anymore. She will just be his partner. It's understandable that it hurts you, but she's his mother, not yours. Odds are high she is going to choose to stand by him and accept his relationship with her eventually. You might want to find a support network outside of his side of the family. No a-hole. You asked. She said no. Not the a-hole, but you need to distance yourself from her husband's family. I say this from personal experience. Your husband's family, while disgusted with his behavior, will eventually forgive him because he is their blood family. Mother-in-law gave birth to him, raised him. While she was probably very angry with him, that anger will subside because she gave birth to him. She will eventually forgive him because that's what moms do. Think about your children, and if one of your kids did what your husband did to you, you would be angry, but eventually forgive or find a way to forgive. You are not a member of your husband's family. You may have felt like a member and been treated like a member, but you are finding out that you are not. You are the wife of their son, brother, cousin. You are his soon-to-be ex-wife. Mother-in-law is your soon-to-be ex-mother-in-law. No, a-hole. I understand why this would upset you. It's like a symbol of betrayal being openly displayed as a reminder of what happened. And, whether your mother-in-law is okay with it or not, it's likely a symbol of acceptance of the mistress, and I'm sure that's hard. But your ex is her son, and despite her feelings towards what happened, she loves him and will always want to support him. If he wants to make his current relationship work, then she will have to accept it. She's stuck between a rock and a hard place.